So, mark your own quiz. Here we go. Oh, who's my favorite student? Sadly, it's not you. It's good old Anne. Always gets perfect. A rabbit is running away at 24 meters per second from a wolf going at 32 meters per second. What's the speed of the rabbit relative to the wolf? I'm pretty sure it's 8 meters per second. As far as the wolf is concerned, the rabbit's speed is -8 because the wolf sees the rabbit moonwalking backwards towards it, kind of strangely, but that's what it sees. As far as the rabbit is concerned, the wolf's velocity is +8. But on the test, I'm not going to ask you for a velocity. I'm going to ask you for a speed, which means ignore the negative positive. If the rabbit has a 12-meter head start, how long will it take? Well, we said for all of these, A is 0. This wants me to find time. We have two objects moving at different speeds. This is a job for relative speed. I'm going to use VREL. I'm not going to use the 24 or the 32. And I have a D of 12. You know what? I think it's going to be this equation here. D equals VIT plus a half AT squared. But I'm not going to bother writing the plus a half AT squared here. A is 0. And in fact, it's going to be D equals VREL times T. T is going to be D over VREL. It's going to be 12 divided by 8, which is divided by 4, divided by 4. Is it 1.5? If you got 1.5 seconds, I would give you 2 out of 2. Otherwise, I would give you a half mark if you found and used VREL. I would give you a half mark if I saw that, a half mark for that, and a half mark for the answer. And as always, correct units and all that stuff. Number 2, what must their speed be? I guess it's asking me to find V. Now, it's saying find V in kilometers per hour. Ella, I'm going to find V in meters per second, and then I'll do a conversion. But wait a minute. In this question, is there more than one object moving at different speeds? I'm not going to find V. I'm going to find VREL. It looks like, oh, A is 0. D is 180. I'm not going to use the 90 yet, because that's kilometers per hour. I am going to use the T equals 4.8. I think what I can do then is I can go D equals VREL times T plus a half AT. A is 0. I think what I can do is I can find the relative speed. It's going to be D over T. It's going to be 180 divided by 4.8. 180 divided by 4.8. I get 37.5 meters per second. Now, that's how much faster the police have to be going than the bad guys. But that's in meters per second. So now I'm going to convert that to kilometers per hour, which is, I think, times by 3.6. They have to be going that much faster than the bad guys. So they have to be going 135 plus the bad guys were going 90. They have to be going 225 kilometers per hour. If you got that, I would give you 3 out of 3. Otherwise, I would give you, let's see, probably a half mark if I saw that, a half mark if I saw that. I would probably give you a half mark for that, a half mark for converting it to kilometers per hour, a half mark for adding the 90, and a half mark for the answer. If you went 37.5 plus 90, if you forgot to do the conversion, I would give you 2 out of 3, but I would also tell you to go work for Verizon. No units. Now we get to relativity. How can I tell at a glance that this is special relativity? I saw percentages in the speed of light. This wants me to find time back on Earth, so that wants me to find T. T0 is 8. V is 0.99c. So my equation is going to be t equals t0 divided by that square root function. It's going to be 8 divided by the square root of 1 minus 0.99c over c all squared. Do you see? Do you see? Yes, I see. It's going to be 8 divided by square root bracket 1 minus 0.99 squared. And I get 56.7. Is that correct? Years. I would give you 1 mark for that, half mark for the numbers, half mark for the answer. My 5s get messier every year. A spaceship travels, how much time will pass on Earth? You know what? This is the same question, just with different numbers. Again, it wants me to find t. Time on board the spaceship is 12. V is 0.96c. T is going to be t0 over the square root function. It's going to be 12 divided by the square root of 1 minus 0.96c over c all squared. It's going to be 12 divided by the square root of 1 minus 0.96. Don't forget the squared, Mr. Dewick. Y'all get 42.9? Yeah? Same as before. 1 mark, half mark, half mark. And then I would turn the page. Now they want the time on board the spaceship. They want me to find t0. That must mean they gave me t. Yes, they did. V is 99% of the speed of light. I guess t0 is going to be t times that square root function. It's going to be 16 times the square root of 1 minus 0.99c over c all squared. Do you see? Do you see? Do you see? It's going to be 16 times the square root bracket 1 minus 0.99 squared, close off bracket. Did y'all get 2.26? 16 years on Earth, only 2.26 years on board the spaceship. 1 mark, half mark, half mark. A spaceship is traveling at 99.5 C. It's been gone. Oh, this is again asking me to find T0, time on board the spaceship. So T is going to be 15. V is 0.995 C, 99.5% of the speed of light. T0 is going to be T times the square root function. So it's going to be 15 times the square root of 1 minus 0.995 C over C. Do you see? All squared. 15. You know what, Mr. Dewick? I think you can just backspace and edit and change some numbers. Change that. Insert a 5 there. We're good. You get 1.49. Oh, you know what? 1.50. 1.5, yeah? One mark, half mark, half mark. Now it wants a speed. Okay. That must mean they gave me time on board the spaceship. Yep, 8. That must mean they gave me time back home on Earth. Yep, 100. Okay, V equals C times the square root of 1 minus T0 over T all squared. It wants the answer as a percentage of C, so I'm just going to leave the C as a C, but I'm going to plug in the 8 and the 100. So it's going to be the square root of 1 minus, another bracket, 8 divided by 100. Close off that, squared. Close off the square root. And I get 0.9968. Or as a percentage, 99.68% of C. For this one here, I would give you a half mark for that. I would give you a half mark for the numbers and 1 mark for the answer. Yep. I would take 99.7, okay. What I would not let you round off to is to 100 because we can't get to 100% of the speed of light. So usually for the percentages, I tend to go to 4 sig figs. The fact that there was a 9 right there, I thought, oh, that works fairly well. But yeah, I would take 99.7 as well because I've told you most of the time 3 sig figs. Yep, totally good. Now they want a speed in meters per second. Okay. So that must mean they gave me time on board. They gave me time back on Earth. So V is going to be C square root of 1 minus 20 over 1,000 squared. Now they want the answer in meters per second. So instead of leaving the C as a C, I'm going to put it in. 3 times 10 to the 8th times square root of, should be a minus sign there, Mr. Dewick. 1 minus bracket 20 divided by 1,000 squared. Close off the square root. And I get, well, again, I wouldn't round off here or here or here because then I'd be saying we're actually going the speed of light. So I think I'm going to go 2 point and then 3 nines. In fact, I might even stick the 4 there because there's more 9s after it. I'll go 2.39 times 10 to the 8th meters per second. Or if you just wrote out the whole number, that's also perfectly acceptable. And just like before, I would give you half mark for that. Actually, here I think, you know what? I would probably end up giving you 1 mark for that and 1 mark for the number. Oh, you know why? Because I went to writing in the numbers right away. Can you give yourself a lovely score on this take-home quiz out of 18, please? If you have any questions or need to lawyer with me, now is